Dear player, have you ever had that feeling of a really good video game? Where you're having the time of your life playing and continue playing non-stop, the story is great, or the gameplay is incredibly satisfying, only to have it end abruptly because suddenly you've reached the end. A switch flicks on in your head and all the fun is suddenly gone. You're left with nothing else to do. You could go replaying or go play the multiplayer, but now it doesn't feel the same. Pacing is important for anyone who plays video games. There may be an intended message that you completely missed, or you stayed up all night and missed half the dialogue from falling asleep. I myself have done some of these things, and it can really take some of the fun out of the game. Let's take for example Moonhunters. Moonhunters requires you to replay the game multiple times in order to fully experience its story. It's a game about those who worship the moon goddess and only have a few days to figure out why she has suddenly gone missing. You're not expected to be successful on your first playthrough though. Instead, you're introduced to the world by exploring and seeing events for yourself. Whether or not your playthrough was successful, however, was based on how you took what you learned about the world and applied it. While each character has multiple unique endings on your choices, the game goes beyond one individual story. You were expected to reflect on the information you have learned and utilize it the next time you play. I played Moonhunters over a period of a few months, and that's a long time for me, but there was also a lot of time to think about everything in the world and how it worked and how it made me appreciate the beauty of it. Moonhunters isn't just a top-down hack-and-slash RPG. It's a game you could play and reflect on in just 1 hour. I failed to do this with another game though. Stories Paths of Destiny. I loved playing this game, and like Moonhunters, it has a lot of playthroughs while learning about the world and improving from your past decisions. Stories Paths of Destiny's premise consisted on being able to play out multiple futures through a magic book in order to reveal the correct action to take. I kept playing after each playthrough without stopping, however, because I was enjoying the game from each path that I took. By the end of the game, however, I played through the least amount of endings that you could before reaching the best one. It felt anticlimactic, like I rushed through the game and it was over before it began. If you asked what my opinion was of the game, I would say it was great, but I wouldn't be able to think of any reasons other than the fluid combat. It's all I remember. Not the dialogue between the characters, not the environments, nor the names of the places, the gods, the empires, or even music for that matter. I rushed through the game so quickly that I didn't even realize if it had music. Seriously, I had to go replay the game just to find out. It feels as if I was robbed of the fun I could have had by spending my time with the game. The ending felt lackluster because of my decisions to speed through it all in one day. I didn't understand what half of the main character was talking about, and more importantly, I didn't understand why any of it was important. Multiplayer games have ways to control pace of play as well. Take for instance, downtime between matches in Overwatch. While you see your stats in the match, you can take time to cool down from the intensity of the last one. Other games employ similar practices as well, like Counter-Strike, Rocket League, or League of Legends. Without these areas to cool down, some of us would play for less time because of the overstimulation from constant action. A good example of what I mean by this would be in Left 4 Dead 2. The Left 4 Dead 2 modders recreated Helm's Deep, which is really cool and awesome, but it has a very long battle for survival. Usually somewhere in the ballpark of 40 minutes of non-stop zombie shooting action, if you and your buddies win, of course. What I'm trying to say is, because the pacing is so intense, I myself, as a hardcore gamer, have to take a break after just one match of this to really enjoy the game. Otherwise, I just fizzle out. I'm not saying that you should play in a very relaxed way either. I've played games in such a slow pacing that I've fallen asleep. Usually this consisted of strategy-intense games like Europa Universale 4, Stellaris, or Civilization 5. It's good to find a balance to what suits you, so everything that you play is more satisfying. At the end of the day, though, take your time and reflect on what happened after playing for a while. Of course, not every game needs this. Multiplayer games like Overwatch or League of Legends are all about never-ending fun and maintaining that for long periods of time. But for single-player games or co-op story-driven games, take your time. You might just like the game even more by doing just that.
Now